Bhrigu concludes that Ananda is Brahman. But you have said that there is an experiencer, the Ananda Sheath. Please clarify. Yes, that is what I clarified yesterday. Ananda is Brahman. We say because that is the closest we can get there. Gulab Jamun is sweet, yes, but whole of Gulab Jamun is not sweet. That sweetness in Gulab Jamun is actually the sweet. Like that, Ananda is Brahma, yes, but the Brahman in the Anandam is the Brahman. The Ananda is the Maida of the Gulab Jamun. The sugar, the sweetness is Brahman inside. But to taste that sugar, we are eating a Gulab Jamun. That is the reason why it said Ananda is Brahman, because at that level you really get so close to Brahman. At physical sheath, you don't get close. It's like Gulab Jamun which is packed in a box. Physical sheath. And mental, you go to one more layer behind that, you open the plastic wrap. Then you, for next layer, open the box. Finally, you catch hold of the Gulab Jamun, like Vijnanamaya Kosha. This is Gulab Jamun. I know it. Then you put it in your mouth, Anandamaya Kosha. But what you are experiencing, Brahman, through the sheath called Anandamaya Kosha, through the object or the sweet called Gulab Jamun. What you are experiencing is sugar alone. That sweetness is Brahman, is what is said. When our Atma or self leaves body, what will be the form of our self? As I said yesterday, there are three kinds of bodies. The physical body is this body. Then there is a subtle body with your mind, prana and the Vijnana, Ananda, 4 koshas. And beyond that is your causal body. What is the causal body? Causal body is just the Anandamaya kosha. There is no Vijnana and Mano, Buddhi, Prana. Nothing exists there. Physical sheet. So Anandamaya is just an experience. And the one who is the very idea of experience is the final Brahman. The awareness of that experience is Brahman. Somebody's tongue is sick. Even if you place Gulab Jamun, like a lot of people smoke too much or eat pan, you put Gulab Jamun on their tongue, they cannot realize the taste of Gulab Jamun. Likewise, we don't realize Brahman till we become Brahman, is what it is said. So the body is, what is the shape of the body? Truth is that this shape which you think is the shape is also not a shape. Asharira is your true shape. No shape is your true shape. No form is your true form. That is the, if you identify yourself with the Brahman or Atman. If you identify yourself with the body, then believe you have a form. But your true self has no form. So when you die, what happens? There is no form to you. It's an imagination that there is one line like this, white spots will appear. All this is imagination. So when you see yourself first, how do you see right now? This body with skin and all the things like that, like a baby. Very beautiful, you say. Go a little deeper. This is what the baby is. Go even little deeper. This is what the baby is. And if you go further deeper, it will not be there at all. Because there is nothing. Like a man is there, very handsome man. Go a little deeper. This is his truth. Go even deeper. This is the truth. Go even deeper. This is the truth. Go even deeper. All energies. Go in deeper. Atoms, molecules. Go even deeper. Not even atom, molecule. Diffused energies. Then non-existence at all. It's one part of the universe. Even then deeper. You're nothing. Even deeper. That's all it is. Your body's shape you want. This is your body's shape. So what is your true shape? This is your true shape. Your physical body shape is only actually that only. There is nothing there. Holographic things, you see, we had gone to a place, they put a camera on my head. It creates image. You feel you can touch that thing. Sometimes you'll even extend your hand to touch it. But nothing exists. Augmented reality, they call it. Nowadays it's become a big thing. You can create a city around you. But there is no city there. When you put on these glasses, you see there is a city. Then, what is the shape of that city? Nothing is there in the imagination. So, this whole world is one beautiful example we can think of. It is augmented reality. Like this, now we are using it to study biology, you see. People are wearing that thing and then they are studying the entire body structure as if a human body is standing around it. They can study heart. There is no heart there. So this is the idea. This whole world is actually an augmented reality only. And mind is that gadget that your soul is wearing. And it sees all the world and the shapes. If you remove the mind from there, nothing exists. Just you exist, the awareness exists, the Atman exists. But the moment you put on this gadget, everything starts appearing to you as if it exists. But nothing exists. It all exists in your mind. Like all the things exist inside this gadget. There is no real person standing there. This is the illusion of the creation. And we run behind catching hold of this. You see gold, augmented reality, you want to catch hold of the gold. You want food, catch hold of the food. Everything is in your imagination, is what the ultimate reality is. That's why I said yesterday we broke your whole idea of existence into pieces, from the molecules to the atoms. From all the skin, break it down to the elements that have created this. Break it down further into atoms and molecules. Break it down further to subatomic particle. Break it down further, there is space and only space, filled with an energy. That energy exactly knows how to keep this shape, how to create this illusion of the shapes. But if you remove all the space from in between everything, the whole universe will compress into 0.001% of its existence, which is also uncertain because they don't know whether any matter is there in the universe at all. E is equal to mc square. All matter is energy, all energy is matter, they're saying. So at the end of it, only energy exists. It means matter never existed. That is what science says. If I convert all the matter in the world, I can convert it into energy. What exists, you tell me? What exists? Nothing exists, only energy exists. All energy got converted into matter. So who was the original source of that energy from which the matter appeared? Who was the original source is the question one has to ask. That is Brahman. That source was Brahman, from whose energy came out the matter, the gases, the collisions, the Big Bang, the hot meteorites and planets and stars and the galaxies and solar system, and then the earth, then water, animals, birds, plants, bees, you, me. Out of that simply it has come out of nothing because it's come out of the energy. Because I can convert everything back into energy. Once I convert the whole universe back into energy, theoretically let us say, what exists? No matter exists after that. What exists? Nothing exists. Only the energy exists. The consciousness exists. This is what Vedanta is saying from the day one. Only consciousness exists. You don't exist as you think you exist. Your existence is different. Your existence is only consciousness. Bodies, shapes are not your existence. Because there are no two in this world. That is the whole thing. There is only one. That's you. You alone are. These bodies are illusions, the relationships are illusions, names and forms are illusions. Remove all of them, only you are. Like we remove all the atoms, molecules, whatever constitutes you. What remains? The energy, pure energy, which is what we all are, the field theory that they're talking about. That is what we truly are. So who is taller, who is shorter, who is richer, who is poorer, who is more handsome, who is ugly, or who is a male, who is a female? Nothing exists, but for the sake of carrying on with the drama of life, we carry on. That's all it is. These are all costumes given to us. This body is a costume. Our mind is the character given to us. And we're just going about doing what we are going to do in this world. Beyond that, don't get attached to this world. Shankaracharya says, Shatrau, Mitre, Putre, Bandhau, Makuru Yatatam, Vigraha Sandhau. Don't try to make enemies. That is understandable. Nobody wants to make enemies. Mitre also, don't try to make friends also in the universe, in this world, he says. Don't try to create more relations for yourself in this world. Children, putre, means progeny. So he says, Ma kuru yatatam vigraha santo. Don't collect all these, accumulate all these with efforts. Let it be. Don't put extra efforts to collect all these things. If it comes your way, life takes you along, marriage happens, children happens. Part of the drama, you think like that. But you don't put extra efforts to create all these relationships, accumulations, amassment of new things and ideas, because this only binds you down. It reinforces the idea that you are a body again and again and again, which we are so desperately trying to get rid of. That is where the problem starts. So don't put additional efforts to create more relationships, to possess more things that what you require for your daily life and living, to create more titles to yourselves. Don't do that, because that much more it will get complicated for you to realize your true self. That is why reduce your desires, reduce your attachments, reduce your relationships, Reduce your activities. Keep it to the bare minimum, which is to maintain yourself pure and clean. To that extent only you keep. Beyond that, don't is what Shankaracharya is saying. Don't unnecessarily accumulate and amass things. This is what our next shloka will tell. This is the 23rd shloka. It says, Nayamatma pravachanena labhyo na medhaya na bahuna shrutena yame vaisha vrunate tena labhyaha tasyaisha atma vivrunute tanum swam. One of the most beautiful shlokas of Kathopanishad. It says, Nayamatma pravachanena labhyaha means this Atma cannot be attained by discourses. It means all that you have heard, don't think that you'll attain it. Speaking about it doesn't help you attain it. Speak any amount about chapati, lunch. Repeat the menu morning, afternoon, evening. Will it fill your stomach even a bit? No. Look at a picture of the menu. Will it fill your stomach? No. If somebody talks to you about the food, will it fill your stomach? No. If you think about the food sitting in your room, will it fill your stomach? No. Only when you eat the food, that is when it fills the stomach. So listen to this discourse on Brahmagyana any number of times. It's not going to give you Brahmagyana. It will only teach you that yes, this is all Brahman is about. Like a menu will tell you, today there is dosa and then there is idli and then this is for breakfast. That's all it is. Beyond that you cannot understand just by listening to it or reading about it. Na medhaya, by intelligence and memory you don't understand it. Intelligence here means lower intelligence, not the discriminating Vijnana, higher intelligence. The basic intelligence that we have. It's more like a memory or more like our mind. It cannot be understood by that. Like you cannot understand what a sweet is till you have tasted it. By just imagining about it and knowing about it mentally, intellectually, you don't taste it at all. You have to taste it to know it. This Atma-gyana, you have to experience it to know it, otherwise no. Na bahuna shrutena, if you hear it from different people in different ways, even then you don't. So therefore, na bahuna shrutena, you go to any number of places, read any number of books, you will not understand. Shankaracharya says, Shabdajalam maharanyam chitta brahmana karanam. The more you read, the more you get confused. It's like a big forest full of trees of words. Words are the trees and the whole book is a forest. Enter the forest, you don't come out at all. You're lost. That is tasmat prayatnat gyatavyam is. Therefore, put efforts to know it. So you are saying by listening we won't get it? No. By our intelligence and our understanding and study circles, we won't get it? No. Okay, shall we go and listen to it from anybody else and read some more books? No. So how do I get this Atman? That is the next question you will ask. The answer is in the next two lines, which says, Yam evaisha vrunute. Eva, this alone, the one who desires, vrunute, asks for or desires, eva, for this alone, esha eva, this alone, tena labhyaha, to them this becomes available. Tasya esha atma, to them this atma, vivrunute tanum swam, reveals its true form on its own. Vivrunute, it reveals itself on its own. Beautiful Sanskrit word, vrunute and vivrunute. Vrunute is to ask for it. Vivrunute is a revelation. So how is Atma realized? As a revelation within yourselves. It's not to be transferred like a data file. It cannot be forwarded from my phone to your phone. It has to be understood within yourself as you are. How? When you ask for this and this alone. Very important word. Yama eva esha. This alone, whoever asks for, to them this becomes available. And how? It reveals itself on its own. It doesn't hide from them anymore. So far we have been hearing, this is hiding nihitam guhayam, jantor nihitam. It is inside all the beings hiding, we say. So the one who is hiding, that person only has to come out and show you where it's hiding. The trick to find out Atman is what? Yam eva esha vrunute. If you ask for it and it alone, the one who asks for this alone, to them this comes and reveals itself. So what about other things in life? Should we ask or not? Don't ask. It will come to you. Adugakave o manasa. Adugu koladi adi aduguna padunani. Adugakane pani vadi vadi agunani, he says. Don't ask from God anything. Because when you ask, it goes further and further away from you. Without asking, it comes to you. Therefore, don't ask, oh mind, don't ask, it says. So what should we ask? Ask for God and God alone. And He'll reveal Himself to you. He's not hiding anywhere. You are unable to see. You have to tell God, show me, show yourself to me. Why? Because I just want you and nothing else. So God will appear. So that is the idea. I tell this story often, that how a prince displayed all his wealth, all nice things in the palace on his birthday and said, anybody can come and pick up anything that fits one's hand and take away as my birthday gift. So everybody rushed to the palace and they started taking as much as possible in their hands, gold coins and jewelry and nice articles and items, whatever they could carry. One young girl was not touching anything, it seems. She was just waiting and waiting. So the prince was hiding, in a disguise and watching everybody who is coming and going. He noticed that this girl is not touching anything. She is waiting as if searching for something. So he goes to her and asks, you don't want anything? Why are you not picking anything? He said, no, the one that I am looking for is not on display. Whom are you looking for? I am looking for the prince, she says. My desire is if the prince's hand comes into my hands, that is my desire. I am not finding that prince, therefore I am not picking anything here. The prince becomes very happy. He reveals himself. Yamayavesha vrunate tena labhya tasyesha atma vivrunate tanuswam. You are looking for me. All these people were happy taking away my wealth. But you wanted me, here I am. He reveals himself and puts his hands in her hands and says, here, I give myself to you. Now you are mine, I am yours. All her desires will be fulfilled in that moment, will it not? She became the queen now. So shnute sarva kaman saha, Taittiriya Upanishad. All his desires are fulfilled at once, not one by one. Whose desire? Who realizes Brahman. Like this ordinary girl's desire to marry the prince fulfills all her desires of whatever she needs in life, because now she is the queen. Likewise, Yamaivesha Vrunate, the one who wants that Brahman alone to the exclusion of everything else. To them alone, this Brahman himself comes and reveals himself. They don't have to search. Just by being there, Brahman is watching you like the prince is watching this ordinary girl. Seeing through this drama, the one who asks for God not only gets God, gets everything else also as he or she requires. That is the idea of Brahma Vidya, Brahma Jnana. You ask for Brahman himself, saying that you reveal yourself to me. I don't want all these things. That is why Nachiketa was tempted by Yama in the beginning. Take this, take that, I'll give you this, I'll give you that, I'll give you Nachiketa Agni, I'll give you heavens, I will give you servants from heavens, I'll give you gold, this, that. All this was trick of Yama, like the trick of this prince who displayed everything so that you get tempted and go away. Then what happened? Finally you suffered because now you lost the opportunity. Likewise, we fill ourselves with the garbage of the world. And then finally realize all this is no use, Brahman is there behind all this. That is the problem with this world. When he displays in excitement, we go and grab without discriminating. Grab everything. Like children, leave them in a room full of toys. They'll grab everything that they can. So that is the way we behave like children. That is why na samparaya pratibhati balam, he said. This is not revealed to the children, he says. What children? This kind of immature, unevolved aspirants. This doesn't reveal itself to them. Because they're so obsessed, infatuated with this wealth and possessions of the world that they just cannot think of it. They keep repeating the same mistakes. Now after reading Kathopanishad, we should not repeat this mistake. We should grow up spiritually. Otherwise, because of the foolishness of the worldly attachments and possessions, which we think alone exists, we will again go back to the same old thing. We'll become happy with a handful of coins and go back thinking we have become very rich today. Prince has given us full handful of coins. But what did he do? He gave you a handful of coins and denied you of himself. He fooled you. But this girl, the discriminating one, the Dhira, sees through this drama of the world and says, I don't want all these things. Where is that prince? I want that prince. Where is that Brahman? Where is he hiding behind all these things? I want that Brahman, nothing else. The moment you say that, it is the same thing like opening the wrapper of the chocolate and the child appears. You ask Brahman, I want you only. I have seen through all these. I don't want any of these things. Brahman just comes and reveals himself to you. You don't have to do any karma, yoga, sankhya, hatha yoga. Nothing you have to do. Just desire for that one Brahman alone. The exclusion of everything else. Therefore, ask for that which will give you the highest and don't waste your time searching for other things. Next shloka, 24th. Na avirato duscharitan na ashanto na samahitaha na ashanta manaso vapi prajnanenainam apnuyat. It says, na avirito duscharita, the one who does not desist from doing wrong. The one who does not stop doing wrong in life. Duscharita means bad conduct. Na avirita means the one who does not stop. Very nicely in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, after having heard the Bhagavad Gita to some extent, he asks, you are saying we should not indulge in wrong things, we should not indulge in worldly materialistic desires, we should not indulge in sense pleasures. All these are things. But why is it that people still do this? He asks, why? He says, why do people behave in a wrong way despite being told not to behave? Anichannapi varshneya. They don't want to do wrong. Still why they do wrong, he asks. Pramadeva niyojita, as if forced to do wrong. They don't want to do wrong. We want to do right only. Then what is that which forces us to do wrong? Anichannapi, though we don't want to do it, why this happen? Then he says, Kama yesha, krodha yesha, rajoguna samudbhavaha. Our gunas are like that. Over many, many births we have developed these habits. These habits are very powerful. And two habits he tells, kama and krodha. Kama yesha, krodha yesha. Kama is our desires for things and krodha is when we don't get those things. Mahashana, mahapapma he calls them. Mahashana means it's a huge hunger. Desire is like a voracious fire. It can eat up anything. It will never stop. The more you feed, the more it wants. Mahashana. Ashana means hunger. Mahashana is very, very hungry, these desires are. They never get over. You think you'll get over. That's why Trishnana, Jirna, Vayameva Jirna. Desires don't become old. We become old, we die. And Krodha, when we are not able to fulfill the desire, next is anger. I can't get this, I deserve it, but I'm not getting it. I must get it. And then what happens to you? Mahakrodha is Mahapapma, he calls it. This adjective, surname, title for Mahakrodha is Mahapapma, very, very sinful. Now what happens to that? Because of that, our minds are not at peace because we have got our head stuck to some idea or some desire. Now till we get it, we are not at peace. And after getting it also, we are not at peace because now we are excited, we are enjoying the desire for a long time. Till we are bored of it and a new desire arises. Life goes on, round and round and round. Never ends. One desire leads to another. One desire's fulfillment leads to another desire. One desire's unfulfillment leads to anger. So we are never at peace. These were two things he has used. Na avirito duscharita. When we do wrong, but till we desist from doing wrong, and all wrong is what? Whenever we behave in a way other than our divine true self, everything is wrong. That is why I was telling the other day. Anything that you think, say or do without the divine consciousness, but as only human consciousness, is a big mistake in this world. You may say, but all these seva activities, mistake. All the bhajan and sankirtana, mistake. All the dhyana and all this tirthyatra, mistake. Till when? Till you do it for the wrong reason. Till you do it with the wrong consciousness, it's a mistake. Karma will bind you with ego. Bhakti will bind you with egos. Jnana also will bind you with ego. Therefore, it can be a big problem. So doing anything without having the correct understanding, even though you seemingly are doing public welfare activity, service activity, it will bind you. Because you're doing with ego of a human consciousness. Therefore, he says everything that you do with that kind of thing is duscharita only, wrong conduct only. Very basic, otherwise people will interpret this duscharita means what? Parapakaraya punyaya papaya parapidanam. So do papa, that papa is nothing but doing wrong things to people is papa, that is duscharita. It is unethical, immoral, illegal. That is duscharita. No, anything that we do without having the divine consciousness is a wrong conduct only. It's not perfect, it's not pure. You may say, I'm doing a lot of service, doing dana, punya, karma, dhyana, all this is not right conduct. Right conduct is when you act, think and speak from the divine consciousness. So, but at a very basic level, he says, if you cannot resist doing wrong, this jnana is not for you. You must develop some self-control, self-restraint. Papa will come otherwise to you. Duscharita will happen otherwise. Till when? Sukha dukkha samay kritva. Labha labho jaya jaya tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avapsyasi. In second chapter, Krishna says, only when you are able to make your sorrows and happinesses equal, losses and gains are equals, defeats and victories as equal in your mind. With that equanimity, when you act in the world, then only no sin comes to you. Till then you are a sinner, because you are creating karmas, karma prabhavas and other things for yourself. Good karma will give good karma prabhava. Bad karmas will give bad karma prabhavas. So therefore, doing and acting with the divine consciousness alone is a sucharita or correct action. Other things are all wrong actions. Then he says, na ashanto. When you have desires in your head, how can you be shanta? Some desire is there, it will keep bothering you. Till that desires get fulfilled, the mind will not be at peace. I want to eat this. Somehow you set your mind on a thought of eating something or meeting somebody or going somewhere. Till that happens, your mind does not leave you. It will push you, pull you, throw you all around the place till it gets what it wants out of you. It will do all drama like children do, small children roll on the floor, cry, bang their head, tear things, break things, till the parents give them what they want. Wrong understanding, wrong action. So right action is correct charita, and that charita will make you peaceful, because whenever you do anything wrong, are you at peace? Some guilt, some anger, some frustration, some negativity will always bother you. You may act very smart and happy as if nothing has happened, but deep down that conscience pricks and will never let you stay in peace. Therefore, desist from doing wrong, as he says. Tyaja durjana sansargam, bhaja sadhu samagamam, kuru punyam ahoratram, smara nityam anityatam. Run away from bad company, because without running away from bad company, you cannot stop doing bad things. You will end up doing bad things today or tomorrow. So run away from bad company, he says, so that you stop doing bad things. Then your mind will be at peace. Shanta manasa. But just mind at peace is enough without desires? No, it has to be samahitaha. If your mind is na samahita means what? You are not able to keep your mind focused. Some people are very good, very pure. They don't have any selfish motives. Then what? I want to do this for society. Next I want to do that for society. Next I want to do this. They cannot sit in one place for 2 minutes. Their mind cannot be concentrated at all. Continuously the mind is thinking, jumping from one to the other like monkey, jumping from tree to tree. Luckily all are good trees only. But then it's still jumping. It cannot stay steady. So first part brings the purity of mind. What is the purity of mind? Desist from bad thinking, speaking and doing. Samyak drishti, samyak vak. This is what Buddha says. Samyak karma. So practice that. How? In good company you can practice that. Bad company you cannot. So run away from bad company. Next, your mind has to be at peace first. Peace means when you are pure, when you have no desires, nor you have any impure feelings in you, then you become peace. Your body is at peace, your mind is at peace. After that, samahita, whose mind is not samahita, means whose mind is not focused, absorbed and concentrated, but is fickle, like all the time it moves. Remember Mala Vikshepa Avarana, we have done that exercise in the beginning. Mala is this duscharita. And Vikshepa is the fickle mind. It's good mind, pure mind, but very fickle. Can't sit in one place for 2 minutes, can't think of one thing for a minute. All the time it jumps. So such a asamahita mind is not going to work out for you. Then what happens? Na ashanta manaso. Now you will be thinking body has become peaceful. Mind also, suppose we have absorbed it and made it focus. What is this new thing? Na ashanta manaso. By now mind should have become peaceful. It says ashanta manasa. So Shankaracharya very beautiful defines. He says, you have desisted from doing all the wrong. You have absorbed yourself in meditation now. But next, why your mind is curious and restless? Because you want the realization to happen next minute. So that is your problem now. Even the idea that I must realize now and tomorrow or in a week's time disturbs your mind. See how much effort you have put to purify your actions, thoughts, words. How much effort you have put to remove all the guilt and negativity from you. How much effort you have put to focus your mind on good thought like Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma. After that, the bigger problem that comes is, why am I not realizing? Why am I not realizing? That thought will again disturb you and you will not be able to think of God. So in the process of wanting to know God, you will lose God. So just be. Our Ramana Maharshi will say, Summa iru, urke undu. Why? Keep quiet. Just be. Do your part. Brahman feels you are ready. Brahman will come and reveal. That's why these two shlokas are together. Yamaya vesha vrunate tena labhya tasya shevatma vimrute tanuswam na virto duscharita na shanto na samahita na shanta manasvapi. To all these people, Brahman does not reveal. After having done so much of pure practice, finally your mind is only bothered about why I am not realizing, why I am not realizing. That also will disturb your mind. And therefore you will not realize Brahman, it says. See how subtle it is. Just be, just do your part, leave it to Brahman when Brahman wants to reveal itself to you. If he thinks you deserve it, it will come and reveal itself. Be happy. Don't put pressure on Brahman. That Brahman only has to come and reveal, you can't find him. So when he will reveal to you? When he sees you have become pure, conduct, thought, word has become pure. Your desires have diminished, you are always peaceful, your mind is focused and concentrated, and even this desperation to realize Brahman is also not there. You are just doing your part and waiting for Brahman to reveal itself. Like Chataka bird waits for the first rain to come to drink. It can't demand rain come early because I am thirsty. Rain will come at its own time. Monsoon will come at its own time, but the Chataka bird waits to drink. Likewise, you wait. Waiting is a great sadhana. To be able to wait without agitation, without frustration, without expectations is a great spiritual sadhana. Na shanta manasovapi. For all these people, it will not be revealing itself. Pragya ne nainam apnuyat. This prajna enam na apnuyat. It won't reveal itself to these kind of people. It will have to be revealed to them whom it wants to go and reveal. And when it will reveal, when you are becoming pure in heart, word and deed, you have become free of your guilts and desires, your mind has become focused and concentrated, and even this desperation and pressure to realize Brahman is not there. You are just as you are doing the right things, and because you are doing the right things, the right thing will happen. You have removed all the weeds, removed all the thorns, removed the sand, cleaned the land, put fertilizer, manure, dug a pit, now put the seed, and you put it up, cover the seed, pour water, and what shall you do next? Dig it up and find out whether it is growing or not. Then it will never grow. Leave it there. You have done everything that you are supposed to do. Now wait. Whenever it wants, it will come up. You try to get impatient. Every third day, go and dig up and see whether it is germinated or not. The seed will die. That is na shanta manasa. You have done everything right, finally this is wrong. The desperation and the frustration and the expectations to realize Brahman is wrong. That also you leave it to Brahman. You are ready, it will come to you. Because you only asked for it. You didn't ask for anything else. Therefore, he will come to you at his right time. A story of Chinese bamboo tree is there. You sow the bamboo seed, it won't grow. For 5 years, it doesn't grow. It stays inside the soil. And suddenly it starts growing, and within 5 weeks, it grows to the height of whatever the bamboo shoot is. It doesn't grow for 5 years, it seems. Likewise, our spiritual practices are not bearing any results by tomorrow. That is not the way to look at spiritual practices. You keep doing your part. Do your best, leave the rest, is what Swami says. Do the best in spiritual path, leave the rest to God to decide when, where, how it has to be revealed. God knows best. Let thy will be done. And you simply go about continuing your sadhana. This is the secret Yama is revealing to Nachiketa. Reject the world, ask only for God. And do everything right. Remain pure, remain focused. And don't even put pressure on God to reveal Himself. Just leave it. He will reveal when the time is right. Last one. Yasya brahma cha shatram cha ubhe bhavata odanaha mrityu yasya upasechanam ka ittha veda yatra saha. He says, Yasya brahma cha shatram cha ubhe bhavata odanaha. Odana means a cooked food, like rice, cooked rice. And to him, for whom Brahma means Brahmanas, Shatra means Kshatriyas, are like cooked rice. He can gobble them up like this. That is the idea. It is not about eating non-vegetarian, means Brahman and Kshatriya cut and eat it up. This person's power is beyond the power of Brahman and Kshatriyas, Brahman and Kshatriyas. Think of those times, who are the most powerful sects in the society? The Brahmins and the Kshatriyas. Then came the Vaishyas and Shudras. So Yama is telling the one who realizes Brahman, how powerful he is more powerful than Brahmanas and Kshatriyas also. He is more glorious than them. The best class in the society were considered in those as Brahmins and Kshatriyas. This Brahmagyani is even glorious than them. That is the idea. If you are a Brahmagyani, you are the best person on earth. There cannot be anybody better than being a Brahmagyani. Brahmagyani is the epitome, perfect. Sa kashtha sa paragati. He is the absolute highest state of existence. Beyond that, there is no other state of existence. Even the other existence like Brahmins, Kshatriyas, like in those times, at today's time you can call anything, scientists and political leaders or the best of the knowers. They all are nothing in front of a Brahmagyani, is what the Yama is trying to convey. And what else he says? He is so humble. He says, Mrityu sa upasechanam. If Brahmins and Kshatriyas means all the most noble and the best people on earth are only like food to that person in front of his power, what is Yama? Yama says Mrityu means me is only a side dish, like a chutney for that person. It means that person is not afraid of death. Generally, everybody is afraid of death. Even Brahmins and Kshatriyas are afraid of death at the end. This fellow says death for him is like a chutney, it's like a papad, he can eat it up like this. Means what? He is not at all afraid of death. He has conquered deaths and desires. He has conquered status, name, popularity and all such titles of the society. He has gone beyond all these things. He is in a perfect state of satisfied existence. There is nothing more to add. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. He has become Purna, fulfilled and complete within himself. That is the nature of that person who has realized Brahman. He has overcome all the desires of life. This idea of status and positions is no more bothering that person. He is the noblest, the best, the highest existence that is possible. And for him, death is no fear at all. He can play with death. It is symbolism to represent that this only so much. So the person who has realized this, ka ittha veda yatra saha. It means ka, who, ittha, in this way, veda saha, has understood that Brahman. Who else has understood the Brahman other than the one who has become Brahman? And the one who has become Brahman, for him being a Brahmin or Kshatriya is no matter at all. Or even death is not an issue for him. He doesn't care. So therefore, this one, only Brahmagyani can understand. Other for ordinary people, this Brahma Jnana is not there. Other than that, nobody will know. Other than whom? Those who have asked only for Brahman, those who are thinking right, speaking right, doing right, who have no desires in their minds are absolutely peaceful. Their mind is completely concentrated and absorbed. They are not fickle-minded people whose mind keeps shifting here and there. And also they don't have this desperation, unwanted pressure to realize Brahman. They are just getting ready and saying, whenever Brahman thinks is the right time to reveal himself, let him reveal. I shall not think beyond that. This kind of idea is that. One more way of interpreting the last sloka is Brahma, Kshatriya and Mrityu can be considered as Sattva Guna, Rajoguna and Tamo Guna. So these people have gone beyond the three gunas, and therefore these people are not affected by the three gunas, the Brahma Jnanis. But those who are swinging between the gunas and the desires, for them this Brahma Jnana is not to be known. Brahman will not reveal himself. So you may say, I am Brahman, you are saying, Swami, yes, but you don't know that you are Brahman. That is the problem. You are God, but you don't know that you are God. That is the problem. And how will you know God? When you desist from doing wrong things, when you keep your minds pure, desires in control, and absorbed mind, and not even this kind of a frustration and expectation and desperation to realize Brahman within tomorrow. So, iti Kathakopanishadi Prathamadhyaya Dvitiya Valli. This is the second Valli of the first chapter of Kathopanishad.